All right, hello and welcome everybody. Again, this is Jason Edwards with Marketing Strategy Lab. This is episode 22 of Marketing Strategy Lab, and I have my good friend and co-host Jeff Koga on the line here. We appreciate if you're watching the live stream. We had a little bit of tech issues, but now we got it all worked out, and so we're going to have some awesome content today. And really, today is all about shifting from being a entrepreneur to an actionpreneur, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is and what that means. But I want to bring on you, Jeff. How you doing today, brother?
After running into some issues, I guess we got it all figured out, and as things are good now, so I'm actually feeling pretty pumped and energized. Actually, pretty excited. We haven't done one of these in a quite a long time, I think. So, especially, I think the last episode we did was like almost, I want to say, a month ago. Is that right?
Yeah,
So,
it's been a while. We did that because we initially launched the show. We wanted to just test a lot of different things. So we did a 7-day-a-week podcast, and we had different topics every single day. So if you haven't heard that, go on iTunes or definitely check out the first 20 or so episodes of Marketing Strategy Lab. But really, every single day was a different topic, and we wanted to do that because it would narrow down what everyone was interested in. Some things we thought everyone was going to love. The downloads were pretty low, and some things we didn't think were going to be that popular ended up being our top downloaded episodes. So that was a little test. As marketers, we test everything, and now we've kind of narrowed it down to some of the hottest topics that everyone wanted to learn about, and primarily today is going to be about building passive income and starting to break free from 9 to 5 job if that's what you have right now.
yep, and I actually want to thank the folks that actually did the click to tweet. It's actually our first time we implemented that, and the funny story about that is actually we learned that Jason and I learned that from a mastermind group that we're part of, right? Which is pretty cool. And they said, yeah, you guys should do that in the beginning, so that way we get some more traction and actually get some real feedback from people. So for the folks that actually tweeted, I want to actually thank Claudia, if you're hearing me right now. Thank you so much for tweeting that. Peter Van Sabine. I'm probably butchering it, but thank you. And anyone else that's actually leaving the comments in the chat box. I can't even talk. In the chat box at marketingstrategy.com/live. Thank you for that as well. So enough of the chit chat going back and forth. Let's get into some of the content. So I hope it works now because I'm going to share my screen, and we got some pretty cool stuff to cover. So we're going to get into that. So no longer can you see my face. So, Jason, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, beautiful. So let's get started. Okay, so first off, I want to actually welcome you to the family. And if you're actually taking time out of your busy schedule to actually get on this podcast recording or even listening in later on, I want to first thank you. If this, especially this is the first time, this is our live workshop called Workshop Wednesday, and this is a live recording. And what we do in the workshop is basically teach you guys what we do and some strategies that you can implement in your business immediately, so you can see some impact on your bottom line. So thank you for that. And obviously, we talked about the sound check and the chat box. So I think the guys and gals on there that's watching this can hear us. So that's totally cool. And try to sign in and actually leave some comments on there, because we're going to be using this chat box for any questions that you guys might have while I'm going through this. And anyone that knows anything about me when it comes to these trainings is that what? When I get excited, I start talking really, really fast like this. So if you miss something, then make sure you type it in the chat box so we can go ahead and get them answered. And Jason will be monitoring that during this presentation. And make sure you turn off all distraction, even though we did tell you you can tweet some stuff to us, right? Click the tweet, so that's totally cool with us. And the chat box is connected to your Facebook profile, which is super, super cool too. And you can type in your question. Now, before we do, okay? Here's a cool little quote I want to say, okay? And it comes from a guy named Confucius, and he says, "He who thinks he learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger." I couldn't even do the oh man, this is terrible. I'm an Asian guy and I couldn't do the Chinese accent.
Hey,
So
hey, we try to keep this entertaining. So I know you wanted to do some characters, and one of your characters, I think you need to work on it, but I think it's okay. for this.
Yeah. Especially if you're watching this actually on the video or later recording, you can see the guy's eyebrows, which is pretty long. So, and also about this training, okay, I got to give a warning, okay. This is a business building strategy workshop training, okay. And if you want the latest push button that makes you money with no work or get rich quick scheme, you should absolutely leave now. So, if you're expecting to get this ab enhancer and this be the guy like on the right, and if you're watching this and you're trying to get those instant six-pack abs, this ain't for you. This is actually a throwback Thursday picture of me when I try to get six-pack abs, and this is I'm going to be posting it probably on Thursday. So don't do that. Now, when it comes to this, okay, get rich quick scheme, okay, is this, okay? What we're going to give you is tools. We're going to give you strategies that you can implement, but you have to really, I'm going to try to frame it as this, is that it's kind of like me giving you a treadmill, okay? Now, I can't force you to run on this treadmill. Even though if you're trying to like lose weight, that kind of stuff, trying to get healthy, then you should just run, right? Which is the easiest thing to do. But I can't force you to do that. Why? Because some people, go out there and buy little widgets, buy little tools for their businesses, whatever their business might be, brick and mortar or offline, that kind of stuff, whatever it is, they buy it, but they don't use it, and it starts to actually physically turn into something. Now, obviously, if you're using it, then you're going to be like these beautiful ladies on the screen just running around, and that's what you want to do. You want to just use it, be consistent with it, okay? But if you're not using it, like some people might have a treadmill, it might look something like this. And if you're watching this, it's basically a treadmill that has a bunch of stuff on there, and people are using it as a hanger or a closet or extension or whatever you want to call it, and that's what goes on. So again, we can't force you to use a treadmill, but we're going to give you some gosh darn good tools and strategies that you can use. So I want to actually give you that. Now, I know majority of you guys actually know who Jason Edwards and Jeff Kogami is, but I want to give you a kind of a quick story because it's interesting because Jason is in LA and I am in LA. We call it the LA to LA kind of connection here, and Jason actually used to live in Los Angeles, and that's how we kind of got connected. But when I say LA, he's actually in the state of Louisiana, and I'm actually in Los Angeles right here. Actually a little north of Hollywood. I used to actually live in Hollywood for over 3 years, and before that in downtown. But we actually launched a real estate strategy lab first, actually talking about marketing strategy predominantly just to real estate investors, agents, and brokers. But now we're actually branching off and talking to strictly business owners in the community of what? Lead generation. And when it comes to online lead generation, we've been featured in multiple different places, and we're even best-selling authors. So let's go and get into the actual meat and potatoes of today's podcast and workshop on Workshop Wednesday. So what we're going to talk about is how to speed up your failures and increase your success rate. I'll say it again, how to speed up your failure and increase your success rate. I know it doesn't sound, grammatically correct, and it's not because I'm an Asian guy that don't know how to spell or don't know how to put proper sentences together, but that's sometimes the case, but it's actually a story of how I tripled my cash flow in the last 90 days. And it all comes with being focused, and a lot had to do with speeding up my failure. So we're going to get into that. But before I do, I got a super cool gift for anyone that has gotten this far, especially when we had all these technical difficulties on today's show. So write this down right now. Don't open it. Just write it down. Save it on a notepad. Do something. Email it to yourself. Tweet it to yourself. I don't care what you do, but don't open it right now. But this is a Facebook swipe file. Now, if you don't know what a swipe file is, swipe files are basically advertisement that people use, and people basically put together these books and books and pages that turns into books and books. I said that wrong. And you can literally swipe it, meaning use the copy, and you can change some words around, and you can use it in your own marketing campaign. So this is 42 pages of Facebook ads that dare you to look away. So again, download it, save it on your desktop. This is my gift from Jason and I to you, and you can hold on to it and let me know how well it goes. We've got some pretty heavy hitters in there, and we got some awesome ads, and test it out. So now I want you guys to imagine this scenario for your financial future. Okay, so now you can try to even close your eyes and try to picture and imagine this. Okay, so literally do this with us. Now, if you're driving and you're doing this right as you're listening to this podcast later on, don't do that. Okay. All right, we don't want you to do that, but try to close your eyes and try to imagine, okay? What if you never had to wonder where your next paycheck or how to pay your bills were, right? Imagine that, okay? And what if you could build a predictable and scalable online business, one where you not only get to help and serve lots of clients and customers and only do what you love? Okay, the key is only doing what you love, right? I know it sounds like a kind of like a little bit of stretch, but this is the reality for the privileged few. And so what's this difference between them, and how can you make these dream scenarios your own reality? Because a lot of my friends are in the internet community, and they grew up with the internet, and they're leveraging the tool of the internet to actually create a lifestyle for themselves. It's a lot different than a brick and mortar business, and because of that, they're creating a lifestyle that you can't typically get in a brick and mortar business. Now, the answer is pretty darn simple, and you don't have to cheat like the guy you see on the screen, right? If you're it's basically an image of a guy looking over his shoulder and trying to cheat on a test. It's really, really simple, okay? And it all comes down to, bottom line, is marketing. Now, I'll say one thing about marketing, okay? A lot of people have a misconception of what marketing is, even to a point where I've gotten in conversation, heated conversation, I wouldn't say who it is, but about someone physically saying that, all I'm good for is just strictly marketing. And it's kind of baffling, right, when you hear that kind of statement from someone, but it really is. And it's interesting because, we can agree to disagree, as I left it, but the interesting part is, if anyone knows about anything in business, you may have heard of this wise old quote, and it comes from this particular gentleman named by Peter Drucker, and he says, "A business only has two functions, that is marketing and innovation." So when someone tries to argue in the fact that they say, all you do is marketing, Jeff, and that's all you know, I kind of laugh, because if Peter Drucker, who's the legendary, the master individual that have built multiple businesses and coached and done all kinds of great things for businesses, it says marketing is one part, innovation is another. Hey, at least maybe because I'm halfway right only, maybe that's the reason why. I have no idea, but business is marketing and innovation. Now, just with marketing innovation, okay, winning in online businesses, or matter of fact in any business, okay, is that you gotta be able to deliver in these two vital areas. Now, I use this in a lot of my trainings, but for this, I have crafted it for online businesses. Now, it doesn't matter, okay, if it's just strictly an online business. It can be the same thing as even a brick and mortar business that's looking to go online. All right, then trying to actually maybe go from, they're doing a B2B business. We just recently talked to a client that's doing a B2B, and now they're trying to go to C to C. B2C. I can't even pronounce my alphabet right today. B2C, because they see that the market is shifting, meaning that no longer businesses have to go through a big distribution channel with the internet now, and the interweb, is that you can cut out the middleman now, and you can go B2C. So again, a lot of people get it confused, but the bottom line is there's two things, tactics and strategies. Now, tactics are things like PPC, pay-per-click advertisement, SEO, search engine optimization, SMM, search social media marketing, right? Building a list, right? Some people talk about blogging, other people talk about affiliate marketing, right? Some other people, like if you're in MLM and that kind of stuff, right? Those are little tactics, okay? Now, with the tactics, you got to have a strategy behind those tactics. And those strategies are things like team building, right? Marketing, monetization, that's huge, okay? How can you repurpose things, and how can you monetize things? Growth, execution. Execution is another big portion, okay? Speed of implementation comes with execution. Systemization, right? How do you systemize things so you can do it in a step-by-step? Other things are conversions, right? How well are you converting? How well do you know your numbers on how much does it take to actually gain a customer, right? Not only can you gain a customer at what cost, but how much actually profit did you make off that particular customers, right? Those are all strategies, okay? Now, which one's important? In my opinion, it's always is the strategy. And a lot of folks think that tactic is the important thing, so that's why they go out and buy these cool little widgets or these tools, right? They try to go out there and they want to create a business, so they say, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and throw up a website. That's a tactic, okay? But they don't have a strategy behind how they're going to drum up business on that website. How about another strategy? Some people say, hey, you know what? Some beginners out there might say, hey, you know what? Online leads. Oh, you know what? I've heard of things like landing pages and squeeze pages. You know what? So let me go out here and get this super cool tool, and let me create some squeeze pages. Instead of thinking an overall strategy behind on how you can drive traffic, how you can actually convert, things like that. So bottom line is always strategy. And this is 100% true And this is what separates the real entrepreneurs who are living their dreams versus those who feel like they're living in a nightmare, okay? People that are overly worked, overstressed, not trying to figure out what the heck that they're doing, and highly overleveraged, that kind of stuff, okay? So what I'm going to cover now is the innovative way to speed up your failure and increase your success rate. And this is the story how I tripled my cash flow in 90 days. Now, before I can explain the strategy of how to speed up your failure and increase your success rate, you must first understand this formula. V equals P times Y divided by M. If you have never heard of this, don't worry. Some other gentleman that I follow very, very closely, and if you have never heard of him, you should absolutely follow him. He's the godfather of marketing that I like to call him. His name is Dan Kennedy, and he talks about money loves speed. Okay, money loves speed. Think about that for a second. Money loves speed. But what does that really mean? Okay, so for you geeky guys out there, kind of like me, I'm a kind of an undercover nerd. Okay, people who know me will call me I'm a geek. Okay, it's actually called velocity of money, and I'm going to explain this in a little bit on how this applies to you in your business. But let me first give you what Wikipedia says, and rest in peace, Encarta. Now, if you know what Encarta is, then you have been with probably the computer since the mid-90s. So I love you guys. Now, velocity of money, also called the velocity circulation of money, refers to how fast money passes from one holder to the next, and it can refer to the income velocity of money, which is the frequency at which the average unit of currency is used to purchase newly domestically produced goods and services with a given time period. In other words, it's the number of times $1 is spent to buy goods and service per unit of time. Now, if that doesn't make sense, don't worry. I'm just giving you the Wikipedia version of this, okay? So for you, guys that are geeky like me, then hey, this should probably ring. If it's kind of like over your head and you got a deer in a headlight kind of a thing going on right now while you're doing, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you some tangible examples. So here's an illustration, okay? For example, a very small economy, a farmer and a mechanic with just $50 between them buys new goods and services from each other in just 3 transactions over the course of a year. Farmer spends $50 on a tractor to repair from a mechanic. Mechanic buys $40 of corn from the farmer. Mechanic spends $10 on barn cats from farmer. Then the $100 changed hands in the course of a year, even though there's only $50 in this little economy. That $100 level is possible because each dollar was spent on new goods and services an average of twice a year, which is to say that the velocity was 2 times a year. Note that if the farmer bought a used tractor from the mechanic or made a gift to the mechanic, it would have not go into the numerator of velocity because the transaction would not be part of this tiny economy's gross domestic product. Now, what the heck does that all mean? Okay, if you're still not getting this, let me give you some real tangible example, okay? So here's the $100 bills, okay? This is Ben Franklin, right? Our trusty $100 bills that now look like Monopoly money now, right? So if you had to invest $100 today, right? Who, what, where, and why, and how would you invest it? Okay, who, what, where, and why, and how would you invest it? Okay, so again, if you do that, most people will probably invest $100 into one particular thing versus, right, forgetting something like this, okay? Cash is prince and cash flow is king. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but cash is prince, cash flow is king. And from my real estate background, they always talk about that, right? Is that cash flow is always king, because if real estate market goes up and down, then guess what? It doesn't really matter as long as you have cash flow coming in. Now, obviously, if you need to, like flip houses, that kind of stuff, right? Then to make cash, you got to flip, right? That's a capital growth strategy versus a cash flow long-term flow strategy. But same thing, you got to consider those two things, okay, all the time. Are you going to go for capital growth, or are you going to go to cash flow? And then you got to ask yourself, okay, if I have this money, who, what, where, how, and when am I going to invest in that particular dollar? Now, what if you had that $100, okay, and instead of thinking of just putting that $100 in that one particular thing, what if you can kind of, think in terms of, okay, I have 100 $1 bills. Then I'll put the dollar somewhere else. Okay, now the concept of this is very simple. In the financial world, okay, this is called what? Diversification and allocation. So my background is I used to be, in the financial world. So I used to help a lot of people basically build their wealth. So at an early age, and we used to go in depth about that, right? In the stock market, dollar cost average, that kind of stuff, right? And stuff like that. So if you have $100, you got to circulate. So if you have $1 bill that buys 100 things, that means you have more soldiers that are working for you. So this is a very, very powerful concept that you have to remember, because remember, winning in any business or online business, can you deliver in tactics or strategy? So what I'm giving you now is what? A monetization strategy, a growth strategy that's going to play hand in hand even with your marketing strategy, okay? Meaning that you have to think like that, the velocity of money. So in marketing, you're going to think of what? Velocity of leads, okay? Velocity of closing, how many times does it take, okay? Those kind of stuff. So now let me go ahead and get into an actual case study that's going to show you how we did 346% ROI with a little to no work, okay? Now, you got to do some work up front, okay? So if I were to tell you it requires absolutely no work, then I would be just blowing you-know-what up your you-know-what. So you got to do some work, okay? And these numbers, I have 3 case studies, okay? The first one is, for you new folks, you might say, oh my God, wow, this is amazing stuff, okay? Now, for you advanced folks who've been around the internet business and run multiple businesses, you're going to say, oh, this is like, chump change, and what the heck does that have to do with me? Don't worry about it. We have some couple of other case studies, especially the third case study that I'm going to cover. That's going to be a big one for especially guys and gals who are more what I like to call has advanced or mature businesses, okay?
And Jeff, I just wanted to say, if you're listening to this or you're watching the live stream, listen to these case studies with open ears, because there's no secret pitch at the end or anything. There's nothing that we're trying to do here other than just show you these case studies and inspire you to take some action in your business. So don't listen to it with a guarded mindset, thinking that something's going to pop up. We're going to say, swipe your credit card here. This is really just purely content that we want to show you what we're doing in our business so that you can take some action in your own.
Yeah, and Jason nailed it right now. Okay, it's all about mindsets. Okay, so you got to make sure you got to take down what I like to call your BS radar. Okay, everyone has that bullshit radar at super high because they don't believe it. So that's why we're actually being transparent and showing you, so that way you can see. Now again, the first one's not impressive to some, maybe impressive to few, okay, but pay attention to this because we're going to stack on top of this case study on the next one and the next one, all right? So here we go, okay? So here is a particular website, okay? It's called SkillFeed, all right? Now, if you have never heard of it, you can go to marketingstrategylab.com/SkillFeed. Now, what SkillFeed is all about is a site where you can physically upload videos. So if you have any type of training videos you've ever made, operations videos that you've ever made, or you're an information marketer and you've created products and things like that, and maybe you're not even selling anymore, things like that, you can literally upload those. And I found this website through another course, and I ended up just going on there. And he says, you know what? Let me just test this out for the sake of testing it out. Now, in the beginning, I talked about the 2 differences, right? Tactics and strategies. Okay. So I figured out a tactic is saying, okay, you know what? Let's use this website SkillFeed to generate some passive income. And then the strategy behind that I implemented was what? Least amount of effort. And let's see proof of concept if it actually physically works. So what did I do? I ended up actually, making a quick little training video for my VA who's in the Philippines. Bless her soul. I love her to death. Her name is Mary. Been working with her almost 4 years now. And she went on there and she just literally started uploading videos, okay? These videos were actual real estate related and internet marketing related and how to generate leads online and things like that, and started uploading those videos. Now, as she uploaded them, okay, first month, it was obviously May, we did $1.51. Boo-hoo-hoo, right? I couldn't even buy a cup of coffee from Starbucks for $1.51. And so I was just like, whatever, And then from there, June, it went to $38.41. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I made something. Maybe I can buy, some burgers and stuff like that, So, and then July came around and it did $56, and then August came around, which was just like last month. It did $140.51. So I was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. So now we have a proof of concept that this stuff is actually working. I like to typically leave stuff on autopilot for about 1 to 2 quarters. So in this case, I went 1 quarter in, and then by the 4th month, I saw some results. So I'm probably going to leave it a little bit more, maybe another 2 to 3 months, and then I'm going to implement some couple other strategies to try to scale this very quickly and to see if I can get this up maybe to $500, $600, $1,000. Okay, and so
And like you said, with that quarter as your base, if you would have just looked at doing this and then looked at May's results and got $1.51, or even June and gotten $38, it's not really something that you would get excited about, and you'd say, this doesn't work. This isn't worth my time. No, luckily with this, it's something where you did some work up front and you made a system up front to do this and do kind of the minimum required work that you needed, because you already had this stuff that was just kind of sitting on the shelf. So you uploaded all of this, and then by August, so in the fourth month, now you've got some numbers that you can actually do something with. I mean, $140 for literally doing nothing is not bad.
Well, I did do something, so I'll actually show you exactly what happened. Okay, so you can actually see some of the cost here. Okay, so again, I look at these as being like little cash machines. Okay, little cash flow machines. Okay, so it's for my real estate folks, and I use a lot of real estate analogy because that's really my background. Is that some people go out to like Tennessee and even places like Louisiana. Nothing against you, Jason, and they'll buy they'll plop up 50, 60, 80, $100,000 to make what $300, $400 cash, gross cash flow, right? And they're gonna park all kinds of cash, and you have all kinds of liability. Versus I'm doing this, and it's spitting out $140. So obviously I didn't plop down that kind of money, but again, the ROI is pretty significant. So if you look at the spreadsheet, what I'm doing here is I just run it like a little business. It's the only thing that I actually care about is the spreadsheet, and it just basically says total earnings $236.87. Here's my expenses, right? How much I actually paid the VA, basically how many hours. She's being paid $4 an hour, so you can do kind of the math on how much she did. Total expenses Y53, net income 183. So the ROI on this is 346%. That's sick. So anyone that is a numbers guy, kind of like me, then that getting over 300% return on your money is super, super cool. Now, obviously, this is a very tiny amount. So again, if you're pretty advanced, this is kind of like, oh, what the heck is Jeff going with this? Don't worry about it. Again, I'm going to scale this up to bigger numbers and a couple of other case studies I'm about to show you. But again, it works. So if you're out there and you're trying to get your feet wet and trying to get going, or if you have products already on the shelves that you haven't sold, I would highly suggest you to just upload into SkillFeed. Now, what I recommend is go to marketingstrategylab.com/SkillFeed, and just sign up an account. Now, obviously, that's an affiliate account that we have on there. So, please, support the show and go there and load some stuff up and let us know, and then give us some feedback on what you see on your side. And but the goal is to load it up, kind of set it and forget it, have a VA run it, and come back to it. Okay. So now let me go ahead to get into case study number 2. Now, do we have any questions, Jason, on that? On the live chat, I'm not able to see, but anyone else asking any questions or any questions out there?
Not at the moment. If you are listening to the live chat, you do have to sign into this chat function, but then after that you're able to ask questions. So definitely chat in any questions as we go. If you're listening to this after the fact, then you can go to marketingstrategylab.com and check out our video and watch the entire presentation that way as well. But let's go ahead and keep going, Jeff.
Yeah, so the next case study is the 5-figure passive cash flow publishing model that we do. Okay, and again, you got to do some work up front. Now, the other one was what, like $150 or something like that, right? So again, maybe that can buy you like a small dinky little car, depending on what kind of car you got, right? Or maybe pay for your phone bill. Like for me, that covers my cell phone bill. Okay, so this one is a 5 figures, okay, cash flow machine. Okay, that I'm going to show you now. Okay, that 5-figure publishing passive cash flow machine all has to do with Amazon. And it's supposed to say Amazon Kindle, okay? And we actually publish books. We have actually tons of books that we publish. Here are some couple of books, okay? These are books that Jason and I has published, okay? It's all real estate related in this case, right? A couple of other ones that we've done. Okay, and you can see it's popping up. The one on the left right here is called The Death of a Stockbroker. I actually released this, one of my earlier ones, to actually raise capital for my real estate business because I wanted to go around and tell my private investors that, hey, I'm a published author. So I published it, and then I was literally giving that book out for free for anyone that was remotely interested in real estate, and I've raised a significant amount of real estate in that, capital in that, okay? So I think I've done like well over, raised just in that strategy alone, like $3 million, $4 million. Okay. Now keep in mind, I'm in California. I'm flipping, prices of homes are much higher. Other books that I've launched, you can see here, and I've launched actually under Ghost writers' names as well. So you can see here's a landscaping one, right? Natural eyesight. Here's the amazing tigers, right? Here's a pregnancy, a pregnant exercise, right? And a couple of the new ones that I've launched are these. The reason why we're getting into this type of book, and when I say this, it's actually in the romantic novel section. Now you might say, Jeff, maybe you're a passionate Japanese man that loves to write passionate, these type of passionate books, but no, that's not the case, okay?
And if you're listening instead of watching, the titles of these new books are Passionate Swim, The Wild and Passionate Stroke, Secrets of a Sex Tourney, and Made You Listen. And they're all in the romantic or erotica section of Kindle.
Well, you said it. I didn't want to say erotica, but yeah, it is. It's pretty graphic, okay? And I get actually a kick out of it reading it. I just laugh, and it's kind of pretty funny when I actually use characters' names that like friends that I know, So some of the books I've named under you. Some of the people I've named it under people I work at, so I can show it to them, and they just laugh about it. So it's pretty cool. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can go to marketingstrategylab.com/Kindle to find out exactly how I did it. Before I go into actually, how and what the numbers look like, okay, I got to break down what a typical author does. All right. Now, this is not authors, not all of them, but this is what typically most authors do when they want to actually, write books, right? They'll think. Right, like that guy that's thinking right now, you see on the screen, and then they'll say, "Aha, eureka! I have an idea. Let me start writing something." And then that's totally the wrong way to do it, especially if you're trying to do a cash flow model and to try to create that into a publishing company so that way you can make passive income. That's just garbage. Okay, that's terrible. Okay, here's what we do. Okay, same thing. Someone comes up with an idea. And we're kind of like the bandits in the back, you see, that takes the idea, and then from there we throw that idea into this machine where we have other people in place that we'll run the machine, and we analyze things. Like, for example, we never write the books, so we obviously have ghostwriters that write the books, and there's two places that we go to have the books written. And now I have actually a full-time 3 authors that actually write the romantic/erotica books now that we're releasing. And the reason why I'm actually doing that is the big thing right now is 50 Shades of Grey, right? The movie's coming out and is going to be hot, I think. So I think a lot of those genre and those books have been taken off, so I'm hoping that one of those hits, and it's going to be a big payoff. Okay, so we throw it in. Obviously the book covers are made by someone else as well, and these book covers are literally, I'm paying like $5 a book cover. So if you know what I'm talking about, we actually use Fiverr for the book cover, and a couple other places that I've actually hired authors from is Odesk and things like that. So now let me actually show you what the passive income looks like. Okay, again, the first one was a very tiny amount. Okay, this is the actual one for the 5 figures. So you can see here the revenues that are coming in year to date, 10,476 and 40 cents, and you can see the total revenue, and they're all pretty much over the amount. Now what I want you to actually physically look at is on the average book rev per month. Okay, as you can see here, okay, the amount is significantly going down each and every month, and the reason why it's going around, and I wish I actually put in the expenses in here, is this, okay, is that I saw it working. And when I saw it working, what am I doing now? I am scaling heavily, so my expenses are going up. Okay, I'm still profitable. Okay, but it's going up. So I'm just writing tremendous amount of books, and then once I get the books written, okay, and it starts to sell, then what do? I have the books rewritten again in a better quality, and then I start jacking up the price. Okay, now different high-end strategies and stuff like that, and I hope you guys understand that. Anything you want to add on that, Jason? Because you're pretty much the mastermind behind this that came up with it and brought this up to me, and I kind of said, "Oh wow, this could make some money. Let's get this."
Yeah, I mean, there is a great opportunity for a couple different reasons. If you just want to develop this passive income stream, then go to marketingstrategylab.com/Kindle, and you'll see exactly, basically the step-by-step of what Jeff was doing. But there's a multitude of other reasons to be a published author that we'll get into probably in future episodes. And initially, when we first launched those books, it was because we wanted to build credibility in our own niche. And it was, if you're a doctor, if you're a real estate agent, if you're, any type of professional business that you do, SEO or a marketing consultant or whatever, if you launch a published book on Amazon, people still have that vision of you being somewhat of a quasi-celebrity because you're a published author. They don't care that you're a self-published author, or they have no idea how that whole process works. Just the fact that your book that you wrote, or that somebody else wrote for you as a ghostwriter and they don't know that, is on some platform that they recognize like Amazon, then you have a lot more credibility than if you're just a Joe Schmo trying to sell them something. So that really changed our business, and I've done it for a lot of our other clients in the music industry and other people that we consult for. We've helped them launch books, which has landed some amazing things for them as well. So even if you're not looking for just this passive stream of income, if you're trying to sell things and you're struggling because people don't give you the respect that you deserve based on your knowledge, write a book, spend a weekend and crank one out, and put it on Amazon, and you'll get some instant credibility there.
Yeah, and this window of opportunity to be able to take advantage of this is actually a very small window. I'm going to give you some high-level stuff on just general in this market. I know I'm kind of going off tangent, but I actually want to just talk about this is because as an entrepreneur, right, you're constantly evaluating risks and you're evaluating return. Okay, now the risk in the publishing model is that information is becoming commoditized literally at this moment, right? Things are being devalued. Kindle just released a huge update, which is their KDP members, right? The Prime members, where they can literally like download books, okay? And they're even forcing a lot of the authors to actually bring the price of the books down because information is becoming a commodity. So my gut tells me, okay, I'll bet money on this, is that the whole industry of authors and publishers are going to go away, in my opinion. Okay, just like the music industry has literally been changed because of, it started from Napster, and now, most people make money in the music industry from what? Like events and actually having social equity, meaning that people know who they are, and because of that, they sell, goods and, little merchandise, and that's how they make money. Same thing in the publishing world is that I believe the authors are going to lose a lot of income, and their income is not going to come from publishing, it's going to come from some other means. But at this moment, you can literally use that platform to actually be able to explode your business, because the average Joe, if you're not on here, they're average Joes, and they're like, oh, wow, you're a published author, and then yes, and we've actually ranked all of these, a majority of these, as top #1 sellers, and we just take screenshots once we actually get them ranked. So it's really cool stuff. So let's go and get into the big one. Okay, this is the case study that I absolutely love. Now, I know I said for you beginners, kind of the intermediate stuff I just covered in case study 2. The beginners, I covered the first one. This is for you advanced folks out here, okay? So now if this is kind of over the head for the new beginner side, don't worry about it. Ask questions, we'll get them answered in the end, that kind of stuff, or just email us at hello@marketer.co, mktr.co, and then we'll try to get them answered, or go to our Facebook page and we'll answer them for you, okay? But this is a case study. The no product launch that made $65,224 and literally in a course of like 25 days, I believe. Okay, and this is the actual client of ours that we actually work with. Okay, so now, before I tell you the actual numbers and how we did, I got to set the framework, okay, the context, okay, and why this works. And for me to actually explain why this works, I got to set the actual framework on how 99.9% of the people launch a product or service, or even launch a business, in my opinion, okay? They'll think, they'll say, hey, things like, there's a problem here, maybe I'm good technician in my own business, right? I'm good at doing this, but my boss is dumb and stupid, so let me go ahead and do this on my own. And they'll say, hey, Eureka, let me start a business. Okay, and then once they say, hey, let me start a business, they get to work, all right? So they'll say, hey, if they want to start flipping houses, they're going to do some stuff, and they're not going to test anything, and they're going to do a lot of heavy work, okay? You can see the image here. It's basically a guy that's pulling stuff, and someone else pushing it, and then someone actually, confused, scratching his head and what's going on. So this literally happens all the time. I'll give you another example, right? I talked to a client of ours that wanted to actually physically, sell. Instead of going from B to B, they wanted to go to a B to C. Okay, they sell a lot of merchandise through like third-party vendors, nutrition stores, and it's like a cream or whatever, right? And kind of supplement / cream or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, I want to go to B to C. And as I dug deeper and deeper and found out why they wanted to do it, I realized that he had a contract that was literally like 10 years with those suppliers, and it was not inflation, it wasn't inflation adjusted for his return. So his income kept on falling versus the profit that the distributor was making were becoming bigger and bigger, and he got sick and tired of it. So he was trying to figure out a way that he can go B2C, and he started asking me. And the funny thing is, he's telling me that he's been doing this for 15 years, and I ask him, say, hey, what the heck have you been doing? And then he tells me that he has a list of only, he doesn't even have the list of the clients, basically, because he's been using distributors to actually sell stuff, okay? Now, other people will take ideas and what? They'll go out there and they'll be a little bit smarter, and they'll actually create a wheel and try to figure out ways to be a little bit smarter than most of the people, okay? Now, other ways that people will do that is they'll go do some competitive analysis, maybe on the computer, and they'll start researching stuff, right, and say, hey, you know what, let me start figuring out pricing, right? Like most people, that's where they first start, right? They say, hey, you know what, let me try to undercut everyone in prices. Right, which is probably the worst thing to do, right? Especially in just strictly in prices. Any business that actually tries to survive in this new economy just strictly on price, in my opinion, is going to get their you-know-what handed to them, because business is currently changing. And I'll use the line that Gary Vee uses. You know, if you never heard of him, you should check him out definitely. Is that he says business is changing, business is going back to old, you know, type of face-to-face. You know, everyone wants to know who they are because the internet is giving the transparency, and they don't want to work with big companies. Okay, so if you just strictly do it on price, you're not going to physically win in this new economy. Okay, so how do we actually do a product or service launch? Okay, again, we take an idea that's already working. Okay, that's key. I know it's simple as it may sound, okay, but you don't want to be the pioneer. Okay, I'm telling you this right now. You don't want to be the pioneer unless you got a crap load of money, or crap load of money backing you. You don't want to be that pioneer. Pioneers what? Get slaughtered, right? Settlers prosper. Okay, so we take ideas from what's already working, and then once we take the idea, then what do? We ask around our circle of network, okay? People that specialize in that industry, specialize in different parts of the business, right? If it's logistics, if it's an importing business, if it's it's more of e-commerce style, you got to ask someone that knows more of that stuff. You know, can you sell this directly on PPC strategy? You know, someone that's actually an expert in SEO, right? Someone that's actually an expert in, you know, webinars if you want to sell it off a webinar, right? Those are things that you got to turn to. A lot of different experts, okay? Maybe even accountants you got to turn to, because if you're actually selling stuff across the, you know, all around the globe, right? What's the profit margins on those, right? You turn to experts to try to do a lot of due diligence all up front. And then once you figure that out, what do? Now you have some type of a target that you can go after. And once you have a target, what do? You just aim at the target and you just fire towards it, okay? And when I say target, it's a goal that you can do, okay? And I'm going to give you some tangible example of what happens. And when you actually think things through, when you start aiming at it, you have a higher chance of that work or energy that you're going to exert out to do something to actually hit its mark, okay? I'll give you a simplest analogy, okay? I do consulting for real estate investors, developers, and real estate agents as well. And a lot of the challenges is that they're trying to figure out ways to generate leads. And you know, because real estate is at a local level, okay, we have to test a lot of stuff, because some of the stuff that works in Los Angeles absolutely will not work in other places, and some of the stuff that won't work here will absolutely crush it in other areas. So I have a couple clients that you know, it's kind of like the same scenario that runs in where they start a campaign, and then the campaign becomes very, very successful, meaning that they're going to make money on it, okay, and it's ROIing, it's going very well, and then suddenly they look at that campaign and they want to branch off into different things, okay, and says, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's things like this. If they're doing a email campaign and start making money in email campaigns, then suddenly they want to branch out into door knocking, for example. Or what if they're doing direct mail, then suddenly they want to start doing online marketing and things like that, versus taking the model that's already made them taking the model or the system that already made them money, and then throwing more stuff in there, throwing more data in there, throwing more leads through there, so that way you can scale it much quicker and see what that model can sustain. Obviously, every model or campaign is going to have a max that you can reach, and you want to push that as much as you can. And when you do that, guess what happens? You start seeing trends, and when you start seeing trends, these puzzles and pieces just like kind of fall in its place, okay? I have a client that I want to talk about because I was very, very proud of him, and he was doing direct mail campaign, and he stuck it out, okay? Majority of the people will just give up, but he's had some past successes, so he knew that, and he just kept on mailing, and sending out letters and letters. And now it's starting to snowball, and he's seeing some huge results. And now he's throwing more data through that actual campaign, and he's going to see a lot more significant results. Well, same thing as a couple other clients that are doing email, right? Some people are afraid to send out emails, and we're just like, you just got to send it out. You know, it's better than not sending it out. And when they do start sending it out, income starts coming in. Okay. Now let me give you exactly what all of that means in layman terms, because I kind of give you the philosophical 10,000-foot view, kind of, or even 30,000-foot view type of examples. Okay, so what we did with this particular client, he had a email list. Okay, the key is he has an email list. Okay, now his email list, we sent them a survey. Okay, we used SurveyMonkey and sent them a survey, and basically in the survey we asked them, hey, you know what? What's going on? What are some of the things that you actually are having challenges in your business? And we have bullet points after having a discovery conversation, and basically we sent it out, and basically the what? Email subscriber or his past client can actually what? A pickup box and then tell us what challenges they're having in the business. And then when they did that, guess what? Results came. So when the results came, we started analyzing the results, and once we analyzed the results, one thing popped up, okay, that said, ooh, wow, this is going to be a moneymaker, because the customer basically told us what they needed, right? And they told us, okay, and they'll say it loud and clear, especially if anyone has done any type of surveys, you know that surveys are always skewed in one direction, and that one direction, if you follow that trend, it's going to tell you exactly what it is. So it told us what we needed to do. So we ended up crafting an actual email. Okay, and we sent out the email. Now, in this case, this was an information product, so we sent it out to what? Email to the list, and we sent it out to GoToWebinar registration. Now, obviously, we use some other tools and things like that to actually split test that, but we're not going to get into it right now. And here's the actual registration page. Now, you can see on the screen that you know, total people registered 1,095 people. Okay, and click to the registration page was 2,700. So it basically, you know, a little under 50% on conversion rate on that actual registration page. But you can see we had 295, 224, 95, 750, 125, and we have different days. Now you might say, okay, why are these dates kind of like this? Is because we were rolling the dates on the webinar after we actually had a successful sale. We kept on rolling it. So if you're advanced and you've done webinars and stuff like that, you know what I'm talking about. So we rolled it. Not only did we roll it 2 times in a day sometimes, okay, to milk and actually get max ROI. Now here's the actual physical shots on some of the first one. The first one we had is 406, then we rolled it the next day 204. We did it again on the following Monday and had 222, okay, and we kept on rolling it, okay, and when we did that, guess what? We had some sales. Now this is from originally when we did the sales just recently. We did a relaunch of this, okay, and I wish I had the screenshots from originally, but Samcart doesn't actually go back and show it to you, but this is the actual checkout page. So you can see our checkout page converted at what? 42% on the checkout page. So we had what, 57 people view it and 24 people actually purchased this, and this was an actual product that was 197 that had 2 upsells, okay, and this is the actual total conversion that we did is what, 1731 people viewed it, and we converted 444 people. That's about 25% conversion rate on people that went to the shopping cart. Now here's the couple of upsells that we did. We had an upsell and a downsell that we did as well, and that converted at a 20% on the upsell, and the upsell was an additional 197, so total money collected on that is going to be $400, and then the downsell was $97, okay? Now the magical part about this up, down, downsell stuff is this, is that we really didn't have any special upsell or downsell. All we did was just change the little function of it, and the reason why we did the up, down, upsell, downsell, and I'm trying to talk without actually physically saying what the product is, and it's kind of difficult, and I wish I could, is that we were doing a what? Pricing strategy. Okay, and every business should do this, and every business should understand and actually implement a pricing strategy behind their business, meaning that they constantly have to test prices on different medias and different platforms to see how much more willing are clients and customers willing to pay. So in this case, we're price testing it. So you can see, in this one, the first time we ran it, actually we have 5 converted and we collected additional $1,000 from it, right? Because it's $200. And the downsell, we collected another 1,000. So this is a $3,000. If we did not include this upsell downsell, we would have left $3,000 on the table. Now you might say, hey, for the folks that are making crap load of money, they might say that's chump change, but for a majority of the folks, even guys like me and Jason, that's a significant amount, and that's a significant amount that we like to actually get our clients. So that's what it is. Now let me actually show you the actual cart. We use Sam's cart, and it's actually in beta, so if anyone needs some type of upsell, downsell stuff, go check out SamCard. They're actually really, really simple to use, and they're really, really cool, and their analytics is really, really awesome as well. And then with the back end is a Stripe, and you can see this is the total volume, is $65,224 that we've actually generated in terms of revenue on this particular campaign. Absolutely no product, absolutely nothing, just out the gate, just converted, and the webinar converted almost close to 30% first time out the door. And it was an amazing, amazing case study, and we have actual more video case studies from this, is because we did some really, 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 really sneaky stuff behind the, I don't even want to like say the word sneaky, right, but really strategic things behind the scenes to max ROI this. And now since we have a converting offer, right, a product that actually can sell, right, we're going to go ahead and now scale. Now, here's something that I want you guys to really, really take away, okay? If you're selling anything, okay, don't create a big menu, right? Chef Ramsay, okay, Kitchen Hell, or is it Hell's Kitchen or something like that, right? And he talks about that, and he goes into like restaurants, and he looks at like beat up restaurants that are struggling, and the majority of the time, those restaurants have this menu of crap load of dishes that they do, versus cutting it down and trying to figure out what actually sells. Okay, so it's the concept here is that if you already have stuff that is selling, you got to figure out what is the top performers and cut out the bottom 20 and don't sell those. Okay, and if you do that over a course of a quarter, 2 quarters, a year, 2 years, 3 years, then you're going to be left with the product that's going to convert like gangbusters. Now, if you're just starting off, or you need to go ahead and recreate a new product because you've kind of beat up your list because you've been sending out a lot of emails, or you only been selling, you haven't really spread goodwill and good karma by giving them great content and things like that, then there's a strategic way to do it, and that's what we actually did and generated this. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, okay, we're not taking on any clients right now, but I wanted to at least give you a mini app so you can fill it out and send it to us so we can have you guys on file. So if you're interested, go to marketingstrategylab.com/mini-app to get a one-page simple app and actually ask you some real personal questions like what's your kid's name, what's your DNA, what's your blood type, your social security number. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't do that. Okay, it's just a one-page thing, and then just send it back to us. It'll have instruction on there, and then we'll contact you when we reopen for this. But we wanted to share this to let you know the different levels of physically being able to generate income online. And this particular client was, yesterday we did another webinar, and he was sitting at a coffee shop, and we were kind of laughing because we call it the coffee shop millionaires and stuff like that, right? So it's really, really funny stuff. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, here's the value that this case study brings in a multitude of different ways. Number one, I've personally spent weeks creating a course that I just knew was going to be the next thing since sliced bread that everyone was going to have, and I put a lot of heart and soul into it, and it literally sold barely enough to break even. And I was devastated because I'd spent all that time. I was thinking about all the time that I put in, and now we've obviously taken those things that are dead on the shelf, so to speak, and put them on other things like SkillFeed and those things, so it doesn't completely go to waste. But the point is that you can test your proof of concept by doing this kind of no product launch, where you're going and offering something to a market. If no one buys it, then you don't have anything that you have to create. If a lot of people buy it, now you're extremely incentivized to deliver good value because people have already taken out their credit card and paid you for something. And it's not something where we're promising something that we don't have. In the actual presentation for this particular client, they said it was going to be kind of a boot camp style where they were going to launch in a week or so people knew what they were getting. But my point is that you can save a lot of time and a lot of heartache and really invest your time wisely if you're going out and only offering things to your audience that they actually want, and this is a way to do that.
Absolutely. And you said it, and I'll kind of reiterate on that, is proof of concept. And it gets thrown around by like all these business and gurus and stuff like that, but truly business is that. It's proof of concept. It's risk and what profit management and cash flow management. So if you don't have a proof of concept, right, meaning you're not testing it, then it's a sure way to fail. They say that what 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 3 years and stuff like that. So the odds are stacked against you. So if you just go on the whim and say, okay, this product or this service might seem like a great idea, you know what, let me try to sell it, and you just go out there, slap a catalog together or put up a website or open a store or something like that and says, here, customer, come on in, it's not going to work, okay? Now, there are little outliers out there that actually will do that and actually will explode, and people are like, oh my gosh, they're amazing, but majority of the businesses fail. The statistics and the numbers are clearly says that it's against you. So you gotta take in the contrarian thinking. You gotta prove and you gotta test. Okay, a couple other things are just having a conversation with one person that wants to do some type of a sports league that he wants to create because they're very passionate about sports and they want to actually physically create something that's going to impact their country and stuff like that. And we're just like, okay, well, what if we were to just do some ads on Facebook and just run some traffic to see if you can get some supporters in that community to see if they'll even back this type of organization, like a nonprofit, that kind of stuff. And if you get enough of those people actually register and opt into an email, how easy would it be then to turn to sponsors, then to turn to maybe even celebrities, right? And say, look, I got an email list of 10,000 people on here that's interested in this particular type of organization. Right? They'll jump on it like all day long. Now you might say, wow, 10,000 email, that seems like a lot. No, not necessarily, depending on where you're at, that kind of stuff. This particular person was out of the United States, so we ran some campaigns before, and their cost of emails are down to like 10 cents, 15 cents email. So that's why. But anyways, it's proof of concept. You got to make sure that you prove that it works, and if it works, you got to make sure that it's not an outlier, and you just got to test it, and then once you figured out it works, then scale it. Like this particular client, right now we're putting everything on automated stealth, and we're running traffic through Facebook right now to try to convert at the same numbers that we were converting to take that. So again, if you haven't grabbed the book, go to marketingstrategylab.com/FB swipe and then get that free book. And if you guys need any of our help, we're doing something really, really cool to actually roll out what we call BAM. This is our Badass Marketers Mastermind, and it's a think tank of geek marketers with style like us who wants to more traffic, higher conversions, and profits. And this is a new mastermind that we're rolling out, and we're trying to create a think tank of individuals that are kind of like geeky and nerdy like Jason and I, that likes to test stuff out, split test things, and will actually believe that they believe in proof of concept versus being like the other individuals type is like cowboys that will throw shit on the wall and see what kind of sticks kind of style, so we're creating this mastermind so that way we can share ideas, share our stories. The big one is our stories, right? Successes, but even failures, because I think people learn a lot more from their failures. I remember when I did our first media buy, Jason and I, we did our first media buy, we got our butts handed to us. Okay? Yeah, thinking that we had a converting offer, and then we didn't test it, and we did a media buy and dropped a good chunk of cash, like 10 grand on it, and it just bombed on all cylinders. Okay, so we learned a lot. We'll never make that mistake. How do we, we just literally talked about that like I think last week, and we said, could we have gotten away with it actually not losing all that money? Yeah, probably, but now we'll always remember it. So we need beta testers, and we need what we like to call actionpreneurs, right? Not entrepreneurs that wants to do stuff, wants to physically start a business, or wants to scale their business, or want to take their business online, or try to generate leads online. No, we want actionpreneurs. People are going to take action because we're going to be sharing a lot of information in our community. Is going to be sharing a lot of great stuff. We want actionpreneurs, and bottom line is we're looking for success stories, okay? And we're setting it up for success, and that's the fastest way to generate cash flow and generate leads for your business, and we're setting this up. Now, you can claim your spot, and you can go here now. You can go to www.joinbam.com. There's no monthly payment or smart payment of $97 or $67. It's absolutely zero. It's absolutely free, and it's a limited time only, and we have open enrollment right now for the folks. So just go there and just click the join button, and then we'll give you instant access, and you can see some of the content that we already have loaded up in there. And a couple of rules that Jason and I came up with. You want to share some of those rules for joining? And obviously, if you violate this, I'm going to go over there and be a ninja and cut you up with my samurai sword. But
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the typical group that I'm a part of is a lot of people that are just taking, posting a question without ever going to Google and trying to figure it out on their own or those things. So we really want this to be something where it's a higher level of thinking. If you've gone and you've looked other places and you're kind of stuck at one little point and you don't know where else to turn, then this mastermind group is where you can post your questions. But we want it to be where not only do you post your questions, but you also are contributing in a positive way. So not just somebody who's asking questions and then leaving, but once you figure something out, once you have some success, once you connect the dots, then post it in the group so that other people can learn. And that's why we're not charging for this. We want everyone to have access to be able to develop their business and grow it in a positive environment. So no posting spam links or things for your next MLM that you're just pasting on every single group that you're in. Just this is strategic learning for a group of high-level entrepreneurs that want to take their business to another level. So go to joinbam.com.
Correct, and you're going to be required to do a couple things, especially on there. Is obviously, we're going to require you to, give back as well. But if you have questions, we're going to teach you ways to use like screen capture videos, so you can ask more intelligent questions, right? Because sometimes if you're in like forums, you're in, even blogs and or even sending emails, right? It's really difficult to type up a very sophisticated or complicated thing, and you're typing up like this like 3,000 word email or message versus, hitting the record button on your computer and recording a quick video and say, hey, you know what, I got a problem with X, Y, and Z, so can anyone else help me out with this? Or something to say, hey, you know what, I'm trying this particular marketing strategy and this is working like gangbusters, check it out how I did it, so things like that. So we're going to be sharing a lot of great stuff, so make sure you go to joinbam.com and be an actionpreneur and take action right now. Step up to the plate and hit it out of the park and join the actual mastermind, because it is a limited time only and it is for open enrollment. And keep this in mind, guys and gals, okay? We're not, for the folks that's been with me and Jason from the beginning, especially the guys and gals that've been following me even for 4 or 5 years or so, some of the changes that I've gone through as just a entrepreneur and just as a business owner, and some of the things that I'm currently doing now are dramatically different than I was doing, a year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And that's because the market is changing. And, I wouldn't be where I am at if it wasn't for the people that I surrounded myself with and the people that actually helped me out. And it all had to do with being part of masterminds, And Napoleon talks about the power of a mastermind. When you have a challenge, when you have a problem, you're able to turn to other people a lot smarter than you, or even people that are maybe not even as intelligent as you, okay? But at least they can give you constructive criticism on what they're doing. And the biggest takeaway is when people tell you shit that's wrong that you're going to be doing your campaign, you got to really listen, okay? And when you listen to it, you're going to be able to craft better offers, be able to generate leads much better, and you're going to be able to do all kinds of stuff and turn into a badass marketer. So go to joinbam.com. Do we have any questions, Jason?
Not at the moment. This chat roll thing that we're testing out, it's a little complicated, so it's a little harder to get the questions going. But we're gonna maybe test a couple other options in the future. Maybe just going straight to chat on Facebook. But we do appreciate all of you joining us today, and I do want to also welcome you and ask you to, if you get value out of our show, Marketing Strategy Lab, please help us grow our reviews on iTunes. We're a little under our goal, but we're well on our way. We're actually surpassed what we ever did on our Real Estate Strategy Lab podcast. So go to marketingstrategylab.com/reviews, and you can leave us a review on iTunes. It would really help us boost ourselves in the rankings. I think we've been hovering around number 3, number 2, so just help us bump up in that last spot in the number 1, and we really appreciate it. Any final words from you, Jeff?
Yeah, you can go to obviously marketingstrategylab.com/reviews, or go on your iTunes and just search Marketing Strategy Lab and hit the subscribe button. And then once you hit the subscribe button, leave a review for us there as well. If you thought that this stunk, which I hope it didn't, but hey, we'll take all the criticism and comments and feedbacks, because we're trying to make this a actual movement, so that way we can share the ideas and turn this into an amazing journey for all of us. So thank you so much for actually following us through this new wave of doing this podcast, and stay tuned, because we're going to keep on doing these, and we would love to hear from you. So make sure you connect with us even on Facebook. Add Jason and add me as well on Facebook, and make sure you actually go back to the Marketing Strategy Lab Facebook as well, where we give out a lot more content and details. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.